Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Brink of Speed. Today I am doing something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. So I'll never forget in 1990 when that magazine came out, I think it was Motor Trend or Road and Track, they stated that the C4 ZR1 was a supercar, and they put it next to a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, and I believe those were the Countach and the Ferrari Testarossa. I've wanted to drive one and I've never had the opportunity until now. Corvette World has a 1994 C4 ZR1 and it's red and it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to take you guys there and show it to you, and we're going to find out if it can still live up to its supercar name from the 90s. All right, let's get going. And let's have some fun in a 1994 C4 ZR1. Ladies and gentlemen, I am on thebrinkofspeed.com and showing you our enormous giveaway where you can transfer your C7 or C8 with Forged Light wheels, R1 concept brake kit, ACS composite side rockers for a C8, and ACS composite rear diffuser fins for a C7. You can purchase a support package and get 500 entries, purchase a G.I. Joe shirt, get 100 entries, or purchase key tags for 10 entries each or 50 if you purchase both. This all ends on April 30th, and the link to this will be pinned in the comment below and the description below. So today it's an easy choice. We're going to Corvette World to drive a Corvette. So we're taking the 23 Stingray. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so like I said, I came to Corvette World today. Look at the smile on his face. Look at the smile. Look at this beautiful.
Don't worry, I still love you too. I still love you too.
Beautiful 1994 Corvette ZR1. And it's next to Robert's beautiful 1992 Corvette. So this is going to be a first for me. I have never ever gotten my hands on a ZR1 from C4. I've driven a C6 and a C7, but I've never gotten to get my hands on a C4, and I'm really wanting to see if this thing lives up to its 1990s name, which was Supercar.
Yes.
So,
all right.
I can't wait to have you talk about it and then go for a ride.
All right. So very brief, quick history. Those of you know, obviously, C4 ZR1 was the car that brought the Corvette back to supercar status. The last 400 horsepower Corvette was in 1971 with the ZR2 and the LS6 car, and then they didn't see that kind of power again until this baby came. Now, so 1990, when this thing came out, there was all kinds of rumors. We just knew there was going to be a dual overhead cam supercar. And then it comes out, and well, the rest is history. 0 to 60, if that one, the original version was less than 4.5 seconds and a top speed of 181. Then in 1993, they upgraded its horsepower from 375 to 405 horsepower in 93. So 93 through 95, the last 3 years of production, they were 405 horsepower.
Yes.
They were capable of 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, a quarter mile of 12.7, and a top speed of 185 miles an hour. They also handled extremely well. And of course, as far as racing history, the ZR1's of stock ZR1 motor, LT5, set a average 175 miles an hour during the 24-hour Le Mans.
I love it, man.
It is just, it is an unbelievable car
machine.
for what's time.
And I love it because they only came in manual transmissions.
That they did. That
there was
they
no
did.
such thing as an automatic in this car.
Go ahead. Let's get this beast opened up.
Oh yeah.
And there is the heart and soul of course, the C4 ZR1. And of course, a unique, very unique feature about it that's only been recently duplicated in Corvette, a dual overhead cam, or 4-cam,
Yes.
32 valve. Now this is, of course, still a 5.7 350 cubic inch. What's interesting, the engineering on this car is multinational. At the time, in the late 80s, early 90s, GM owned Lotus. Lotus engineers and Chevrolet engineers got together and put their minds together. They designed this motor, but neither company had the aluminum working that was needed to manufacture this engine. But you know who did? Because again, aluminum doesn't rust. So, but who works on it? Boat Motors.
Marine.
Mercury Marine in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And what's interesting to note, and I have a little background because my father is a tool and die engineer for 40 years, and he even said we recently rewatched a tour of the plant when they were making these engines. The aluminum working they were using during the late 80s, early 90s was so good, it's still current with today's technology. That's how ahead of the curve they were.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
They make outstanding, excellent motors. One of the key things about the ZR1 we're going to talk about is the cosmetics, which has always been a point of contention with a lot of Corvette enthusiasts, especially during that time frame when the ZR1 came out. Case in point, now I've got a 92. As you know, the body style, generally speaking, throughout the ZR1's lifestyle was pretty much in this configuration. Although in 1990, when they came out, they still had the squared off front lights, and they also had the tune port injection markings and whatnot that carried over from the earlier half of the C4s. But in 1990, the round bumper is what debuted with the ZR1, and they were the only ones to have that, along with the, I like to call them the squared oval tail lights.
Yep.
But then in 1991, the base car gets the upgraded interior, the upgraded body, and all that, where there's practically no difference. You look down behind, in 1992, they went to the squared off tailpipes, and then from a distance, you look at that ZR1 over there, it's almost identical.
Yep.
So cosmetically, that badge was the only primary giveaway. The only other difference was with the wheels. In the case of, there's 3 different wheel types that came out with the ZR1, 1990, then the saw blades, and then the 5-spoke was to watch for that recessed inlet for the bigger rim, and of course the tire size. You see mine here, these are the stock 275s on them, and of course on the ZR1, the 275s were the front size tires, while the rear has got a massive set of 315s, which at that time was the biggest tire or widest tire ever put on a Corvette, and one of the largest in the supercar world. But you look at it cosmetically, a badge, the Corvette nameplate in a protruding badge configuration, and these big fat tires were the only giveaway cosmetically of a ZR1. Other than that, if I took this off, you couldn't tell. It could be a sleeper.
What about that?
That was it. You saw it. That was the only other general cosmetic difference that really gave it away.
That's a pretty big difference, though.
Right.
But you have to have an eye for it.
You got to have an eye for it, but guess what people were doing with the base coupes?
Doing that?
There were conversions. People would do it. Now, that was expensive because you had to do some bumper work.
That's crazy.
But it has been done. I even saw one once when I was a kid where you had both.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
When it comes to the aftermarket in these cars, there was no limit. But the key thing was, there was an article written, I don't remember which auto magazine did it, what killed the ZR1? The answer was the LT1 Corvette. Because, and this is the bottom line why. Because
look at the price of that thing.
70 grand pretty much.
Yeah, that's incredible how much that thing costs.
Now, again, these days you're saying, what's the big deal? I mean, a base fed's 60 grand now. Well, we're talking $1990. It was a different time.
This is 30 years ago.
Yes, it was a different time.
Yeah.
The base vets were in the 30s.
Yeah.
So this was double the price. Now, you were getting incredible performance.
Right.
But again, when it came to the market at the time, I could take the LT1 vet, go send it off to Callaway, and be about where I'm at in this.
Right.
Or I could do my own mods and be really close to where this can be.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome, man.
So Mike's first time here in a C4 ZR1. Down here, over there to the left of the shifter, below what is now an aftermarket infotainment system, is the valet key. When you start the car, it'll be in what they call the standard normal mode, and then you kick it to full. That gives you your full 405 horsepower. So when it's in normal mode, it's 245. It's essentially like an L98. But then you go to full, the full 405 horse.
Wow. It's awesome.
The idea being, if you give it to a valet, you don't want to screw up your car.
Yeah.
Right? All right, clutch brake, just like a regular one. There you go. There you go. Love those 5-spoke wheels too. I love the saw blades, but man, I really love those 5 spokes. I don't know if you guys can tell us in the camera, but that ZR1 exhaust, although stock, has more growl than the LT1 or L98s. That's subtle, but it is there. Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it. So this right here, the clutch already feels heavier by a lot than my Camaro. And that's what I'm talking about every time I talk about that clutch with my Camaro, is that it needs to feel heavier for the type of power that that car delivers and this car delivers. It gives you more feel when it's a heavier clutch.
When we were looking to purchase this car, the owner asked me to, along with one of the technicians, to come out and drive it. You know, because obviously I'm driving a C4 now to get feels. You know, I gotta get a lot of kinks. You know, felt normal, and give it some goes. And let me put it this way: I was having flashbacks only sitting over here, and of course I was wondering. I wonder if my dad daily drove his because it's so fun to drive.
Oh yeah. And
I'm gonna tell you, you know, it's hit and miss when it comes to, you know, clutch and gear shifts. You know, some people complain about the longer throw in this. As I started driving it and getting used to it, I really started liking it. And what's nice is how much, look at all the gear space.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Very tall. Your third gear is one of your tallest gears in this car, outside the fifth. Look at how much space you got on the gear. Look at it, 4,000, 5,000.
Sheesh.
That's another thing with this
That's
car
cool.
is this thing's got a higher, this thing, the red line begins at 6,500 instead of 55 like the LT1s or the L98s. So this, for its time, was a very high revving V8.
Oh yeah.
Obviously the newer V8s are higher. Look at him.
Yeah,
look at you rev matching here. Look at this guy rev matching himself here. And you know, who needs the rev matcher feature? How do you like to feel? You know, this sounds subtle, but how do you like to feel the steering wheel, the 2-pointer?
I don't mind it. Oh yeah.
And right now I got the suspension and tour. This one, just like mine, has the FX3, which was standard in all the ZR1s. So when you go for bumps like that, we'll have a softer ride. I'm gonna go to sport now. So that'll stiffen her up a little bit.
Yeah, this is awesome, man.
Now we're coming up to this layer. How do the brakes feel to you?
Oh, they feel fine.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about this one. These brakes bite really good for this older
they feel
car.
Fine. I mean, you can tell it's a 30-year-old brake.
Oh yeah, but what I mean is the responsiveness is solid.
Yeah.
It's a very solid, responsive brake.
Yep. Man, you put some exhaust on this car.
You can see. Well, look how throaty it is compared to mine.
Yeah.
This thing's way throatier. So even for stock exhaust, it's got great noise in the interior. Still quiet compared to, you know, the modern Vets with the dual mode, but it's there. You can tell it's there. That this thing, give this thing a set of Borlas and voila.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
So there's a little bit of play in the steering wheel, which actually surprises me, but I guess, again, it is 30 years old.
It is 30 years old, and it does have 71,000 miles, so there is play. I can tell you right now, this one, I did notice that when I was driving compared to mine. Mine was definitely tighter. I think that's just a symptom of just the mileage. It's a little older. But when you do some turns in it, when you start tighter, the main responsiveness of it is still very firm. Because I'm going into turns.
I'm telling you right now that the very first Corvette I ever drove, which was a 84 C4, man, the steering in that car was like you'd barely touch it, and it's like...
Was it a Z51? Because that's the thing, you know, it's funny, I was reviewing some old review videos from Motor Week on early C4s, and that was one of the complaints they said was how almost over-responsive the Z51s were at the time.
I loved it. There's plenty of visibility in this car too.
Yes, I mean, that's the one thing I love about my car, and obviously this is no different, is you need to see your blind spots. You can actually see them in this car.
You can see everything.
Yep.
It's got tons of power too. It definitely feels really, really good on the power.
So what's your impressions of the shifter so far?
It's good, man. I mean, again, you can tell this car's old, but even with the long throw, everything is still pretty crisp. It's a little bit, I would say, going from second to third is a little bit janky, but yeah, it's an easy car to shift.
I found it very forgiving my first time driving it. I've only driven one other ZR1. We at Corvette World, we sold about 4 years ago. We sold a 1991 ZR1, and that was the only other one I've driven in my life, literally. So, and this one definitely feels just every bit as good, even though this one has double the mileage that one did.
Yeah, it's incredible that this has so many miles. Now, how many owners did this have?
Three owner clean. The previous owner that sold it to us had it for a little over 6.5 years.
Gotcha. How does it feel on the passenger side?
Well, I love it because you just get this engine sound, you know, and it's just vroom, vroom. And I'm having flashbacks because, again, you know, this one has, again, the 94, 95, there's very little, if any difference, you know.
Sure.
I mean, it's, so, and my dad's car interior was black just like this one. So, yeah, this is like flashbacks. Only now my big body here, about 100 pounds, 150 pounds heavier than I was back then, you know. So, having to fit my, but I will say this, these newer seats, which they installed in 94 through 96, for me, because I'm kind of chubby, these seats are more comfortable than the ones in mine.
I like your seats.
You know, because again, and I knew you would say that because they're more supportive in the bolsters than this one. But I'm kind of a chunky guy, so these actually feels more comfortable to me because I'm a wider profile. Yeah. So again, if you're of a Mike's profile, you know, nice, healthy, skinny stud, you know, you're gonna like the 90 through 93 seats. Whereas me, my profile, the 94, the 96 seats are a little bit more comfortable. Kind of ironic because also I like the late C6 seats too, you know, and look how they changed them around. Yeah. Well, and there's Mike's first drive. It lived C4 ZR1.
Yeah, it definitely lived up to its name. Obviously, you can tell that this car is 30 years old, but man, it really has the power. It pours it on really well in second gear.
And third gear is so tall. Do you notice how tall third was?
It is. It's very tall.
You can go. You went from 40 to 70, and it was, and you still had room.
Oh yeah.
One thing sitting on this is compared to mine is you still have the same kind of power seat controls that you do in the earlier C4s like mine, but instead of having two separate sets of controls for the driver passenger, you essentially got a selector switch down here, which Mike will probably film here. You can select between the driver to the passenger, and you can adjust your lumbars. I don't know if they're functional anymore. Are you feeling anything?
Yeah.
Oh, yep, they're
functional.
Yep, fully functional. So look at this. You got 3 levels of bolstering in your lumbar. You can lower, middle, and upper, and you also got the sides. Nice. Now this here has been heavily missed. I still have people asking about this on the C8s if they would bring these back for the lower portions. But even though they still inflate, whereas the C7s and newer, they inflate up here, this one inflates a little bit lower, and some people like that. So yeah, also, one thing you do lose from mine is you don't have a glove box. You gain an airbag for safety, but you lose the glove box. Yeah. You gain storage pockets in the side doors. Sure. So hit and miss on that. A lot of people said they missed the glove box because overall it gives you more space than these little packs.
Here, let's show people the backup camera. I turned that on so we can show them.
Okay, so
go ahead and put it in.
So obviously, you know, this one here you have to pull up to engage the reverse. And a pretty good, very clear backup camera. Yeah, that's actually very nice.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool.
And a modern infotainment system here. Like you even got Spotify, Android Auto.
Nice.
So you got some compatibility here, and you got a microphone here for your Bluetooth. Right up here. So again, this is how you bring an old baby into the modern times.
Yeah.
See, it's just an upgrade radio, and that does it the most part. All right. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Now people are going to say, okay, who's the better shifter, Mike or me? I'm going to tell you right now, Mike's a way better shifter than I am. Although, it would be fun if we had like comparable manual cars. We like went head to head to see how good I can try to compete with them. But yeah, I'll probably get a bit smoked. Mike's been doing the stick shift longer than I've been driving. So
Yeah, I learned on a stick, and then I started racing my brother's 1986 Toyota Celica GT. Actually, it was a GTS.
See, I fell to the times. Most of the cities, which obviously I grew up in Chicago, they started, all the driving schools were pretty much went to automatic training cars. Usually Plymouth Breezes or Chevy Cavaliers are what I learned to drive in for the driving schools, but they were always automatics. I noticed when I lived in small towns, a lot of driving schools would teach the kids in manuals when they were doing their training, because they figure, and which made more sense. Learn to drive a manual, so that's already embedded because anybody can just throw it and drive as long as you got the basics. Yeah. Unfortunately, they weren't doing that in the cities, I think, for insurance complaints, because let's face it, driving in Chicago is a lot different than driving in central Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm going conservative on the gears for now. Now it's interesting, this is a 6-speed manual, but the top speed gear is 5th gear. 6th gear is an overdrive. Yeah, 6th gear is essentially a full-blown overdrive.
Right.
Now look, at 50 miles an hour, I go into 5th, I'm at less than 1,500 RPM. So I mean, again, you can relax cruise these things. Oh yeah. I will say this, you know, this 2-point is very, very similar to the Caprice I had. And I love, you know, a lot of people say, you know, put them at your 10 and 2. Sorry, 10 and 2. That's what I was thinking of. See, we're talking about driving school. Well, yeah, you 10 and 2 it. Me personally, when I had my Caprice, which had this almost the same steering wheel, I love to go at the 9 and 3s. Now I can do that on mine, but you know what I love is I can rest it right here on the steering wheel, and because see, when you think about it, if you're doing high-speed turns, you can do those graduals. Oh yeah. And that's something that, again, when you have the spokes like right here, like on the 3-point in the C6, you have to either go under it or over it. Yeah. Oh, did you see what just happened? It was the 1st to 4th. Oh my God. It is in this car. Stupid. Unfortunately, yes, it's there. It just did it to me. Yep. Unfortunately, even this car got it too. All right. Well, there. Let's go back to 2nd. Oh yeah, that feels good. Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna get it. Attaboy. Oh, you got a Tesla behind you. Yep. He was keeping up for a minute, and I'm sure he could have passed us if he wanted to. But Tesla, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not going to run. Well, we would outrun him eventually if we had that kind of road. Well, yeah. Yeah, because our top speed's higher than that Tesla. Oh yeah. Because even the plot is limited to 165, if I remember correctly. You can actually, you know, say it. I can say it for real. I can't help myself. These C4s are just the best. I love these C4s. I love my car. I love this car. I mean, they're just fun. I just love the way I feel in them. I feel at home in this car. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a blast. Robert and I had so much fun driving the beautiful 1994 C4 ZR1. It really does live up to its name back then. Obviously, you know, it's going to be slower than a lot of cars these days. Even though it does have the 405 horsepower, it's not going to be able to keep up with a lot of the newer cars, because you can feel a little bit of a hesitation, a little bit of a lack of just pure acceleration out of this car. It has 71,000 miles on it, so this is to be expected. But other than that, I can definitely tell that in 1994, when you bought this car brand new, that when you got in it, the driving experience was off the charts. And you were definitely beating 99.99% of the other sports cars and supercars out there. And like I said in the beginning, they had this on a magazine cover in 1990 next to a Lamborghini Countach and a Ferrari Testarossa. And I'm telling you, it was faster than the Testarossa. The Lamborghini, I believe, had over, I think it was like 475 horsepower. So it probably wasn't faster than it, but it was considered just as much of a supercar as those two cars as well. And then later on, it was compared to the Viper, and just, again, a fantastic, fantastic car. I apologize, Robert is no longer with me. He had some work that he had to go handle.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed Robert and I taking the ZR1 out, give it a big thumbs up. Leave your comments down below if you absolutely enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys out on the road.